Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently heading off to crash an impactor on Brigo, and we need to warp up to, well, up this way. Right, we actually need to execute this burn. That's what we need to do. So we're going to push on through here, execute this burn, and let's go to Brigo. So this is going to be roughly a 3-minute burn. We'll fast forward through it a little bit here. And it's going to be a little over a kilometer per second. But if you look here, you can see we've got 3 kilometers per second in this right now. This is no problem whatsoever. The main issue, of course, is we don't have solar panels on this. So we're going to have to be pretty cautious with our battery usage, but I think we'll be okay. I don't foresee a significant issue there. So we'll just continue this burn for the time being. We're at 95% battery charge right now, so that should be fine. But yeah, those solar panels, I'm pretty sure they came off because of our very shallow ascent trajectory that I tried, so that is definitely something learned. I think I might have extended them too early, too. Well, I was going to say we'll see, but we probably won't. You might have seen, but I didn't. It's okay. I'm just assuming they went off at some point during the ascent because we were going very fast while still being in the atmosphere. That is the theory, and it's a reasonable enough one that I don't feel any need to look too much further into it. So this is going to be 32.1 kilometers. Yep, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and warp on up. Cool. And let's go into the Brigo Sphere of Influence. So let's warp on forward. And now we're in the Sphere of Influence. Excellent. So now I want to do a burn. Well, actually, I'm just thinking right now, this is on the dark side of Brigo, and I don't exactly want to do this landing on the dark side. So I'm going to, we have so much delta V in this, I'm going to circularize this up, and we're going to actually do our landing on the day side. So we're just going to bring this around to 32.5-ish. This is close enough, and that will be good for the moment. So that looks great. We're at 93% battery. I think we're fine. We don't really have any battery concerns here. It is kind of surprising that this engine doesn't have an alternator on it. That might be something that we have to add if we want to have it, and that would probably add a significant amount of cost, I would think. So in reality, we probably don't want that. There's our number of orbits exceeding 5. We got a bunch of tech points out of this, so that is absolutely magnificent. And let's just break this right on down. There we go. That'll do. That is close enough. So now, at this point, what we need to do is we just need to come somewhere around here, and we need to drop this right on down. You can see that we've got a surface velocity of about 500 meters per second, and I want to drop this down pretty heavily to around here or so. This is still fairly high, but that should be absolutely okay. So let's go ahead and warp around to that burn. There we go. And we're going to light this right on up. Excellent. And you can see here that we need to get low enough and slow enough, which is exactly what we're going to angle to do. We're dropping our surface velocity here, and we are about 50% of the way through this burn. Let's just speed through the rest of it. There we go. So this impact indicator is significantly underneath the actual surface here. That is noted. So I want to move us to retrograde, and surface retrograde is fine. So we just need to coast at this point for a while until we get low enough. And we're going to have to go under 100 meters per second. So that is understood. We've got lots of delta V left in this to do this. No problem whatsoever. We've still got 93% battery. We've used 2% battery getting to this point. So I am deeply, deeply unconcerned about that. Let's just let this drop down. We can see our surface velocity is increasing, which isn't surprising as we drop. We are on 2x speed right now. Let's bring this up to 10x. And once we get down below around 10 kilometers below ground level, we'll start our deceleration, I think. Yeah, we need to deploy this a couple kilometers above the ground, but we're going to need to slow down here, and I want to bring this down under 100 meters per second. I'm going to actually let this continue to drop for a little bit. We're 6 kilometers away. I think once we're about 4 kilometers away from our release range, that's when we'll start slowing down. This is probably still going to be too early, but we're just going by gut here. Okay, so we're 3 kilometers away from release range. Yeah, this is definitely too early. So I'm going to cut the throttle here. We are below 100 meters per second, but we're still too high up to actually release this and get credit for it. So that is fine. I wonder if we could soft land this. No, we probably could. I don't know if we really want to. Okay. So at this point, we're just letting that max release speed build up a bit. We can detach the impactor anytime we want. We're moving at about 20 meters per second. We could soft land this. I'm not going to, but we could do it. So we're just going to detach the impactor, and now we just need to touch down. So let's warp on forward as we head down. We're moving at about 40, 50 meters per second. That's fine. We're not concerned about speed anymore. The only time we're concerned about speed is when it detaches. Cool. And there we go. So we just need to let this bounce a little bit. We didn't build up all that much speed. There's a lot of angular momentum, but not a lot of linear momentum. So I'm very happy about that. That bounce converted some of our angular momentum over into linear, but that settled very quickly. I like it. What is the gravity here? 1.157, huh? Okay. And I guess this is deploying? I guess that's what it was supposed to do. Sure, I was wondering why it kind of exploded there for a bit. But yeah, that looks good. So we're going to not recover that. We're just going to head right on back. And let's look at our career options now. Okay, so not much has changed here. We don't have any progression missions. We do have a TT impactor. I guess we could do that. That wouldn't require any significant changes from our current rocket. Let's make sure that we have our staging set up correctly. That would be a useful thing. So let's see, satellite impactor. Yep, that looks good. And I'm not going to launch this into as low of an orbit. There's not really a point. I just wanted to see how that would feel. So we're just going to launch this straight on up at a, well, not straight up. We're going to go at a 45-degree angle and throttle up, go into orbital mode, and let's get out of here at 2x speed. Wonderful. So we're going to head over. This is going to be our normal ascent trajectory. I don't want to do any fancy experimentation with it. Wondering where the light here is coming from, but I guess there just isn't any. Sure, that's fine. So our side boosters are gone now. Excellent. And our main booster is going to be going away shortly. We've got about 100 meters per second left in it. Now about 50. And it is gone. Excellent. I think we're high enough now that we can ditch our fairing, and we're going to do that. And we're just going to punch our way up here, just like this. This looks reasonably fine. Although I would like to move us down to like 15-degree pitch, ideally. Something kind of like that. What's our current altitude? Yeah, our apoapsis is already way up there. So that'll be fine. We'll just punch it up to about there, and then we'll just continue to push ourselves up. So we are out of the atmosphere now. We're going to extend our solar panels now that we actually have some. And let's just see what this time to apoapsis is doing here. Holding at, okay, it's going down at 2.7, so burning at this attitude is fine. This isn't a problem. And we're just going to continue to burn here. I like that 500 when we're going to other bodies other than Drew. When we're looking for Drew orbit, lower orbits are fine, or in fact better in a lot of cases. But when we're going to places other than Drew, 500 is pretty decent. I don't mind it. So we'll just continue to push this on up. We're sitting only at 15 degrees right now, and it looks like our inclination's a bit off. It definitely does. Let's see about correcting that by pulling this off this way a little bit. We're going to have to correct a lot of speed to do that. Let's not bother with it. We're going to have to do an inclination change to go to TT anyway. So this seems reasonably fine. I don't even know what direction TT is from, like, whether it's left or right here in terms of our heading. So it doesn't really matter. We're just going to continue to push up here. So we can see that our lateral velocity is up to 2.2 kilometers per second. That is about 2/3 of the way. And that's looking good. You can see our time to apoapsis is still going down at this point, but that should change around pretty soon here, to be honest. Our thrust to weight is 0.8, and it's looking reasonable. We've still got lots of time to apoapsis. This is slowing. It's going to turn around very soon. Probably going to hold at about 74. Maybe 73. Yeah. Definitely slowing. Holding. And it's going to start going up momentarily. Any moment now. There we go. Let's drop our pitch down to 1 degree. I would have put it at 0, but we do have a bit of a rounding issue here, it seems, where it doesn't sometimes like to target 0. So that is absolutely noted. So you can see here time to apoapsis is going down again. This is because we are putting all of our velocity into lateral velocity, and that's going to change very soon. Lateral velocity will very soon become vertical velocity at this point. Not exactly, but you can think about it that way. Yeah, time to apoapsis is going up, and our apoapsis is going to start just absolutely skyrocketing. It's at half of our target altitude right now, but this is fine. We are now in orbit. And now it's going into the apoapsis. Excellent. So that looks good. 400, 450, and 505. Good enough. That'll do. So now what we're going to do... Is this re-entering? I guess it must be. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to head around to the apoapsis, and we are going to just push this right on up until we're roughly circularized. It does not have to be perfect. This is close enough, I suppose. Yeah, we'd have to tune that in, but I don't care. We're just going to head on over, and this is going to be a nice, brief 119 meter per second burn. I like it. So that'll be absolutely fine. And then, of course, we need to set TT as our target. So we're going to mark that as our target here. And you can see it's in quite the hefty inclination here. It's pretty extensive. So to that end, we will want to position ourselves like this. Approximately. We're just lining up the camera for eyeball. It's pretty close. Okay, I want to zoom it out slightly more. About like that. Okay, so now we're going to plan a burn at either the ascending or descending node. I don't really care which. We need to go the other direction here. And it's going to be something kind of like that. Will put us in roughly the same inclination. It won't be perfect because we're just eyeballing it, but that should be close enough. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. That'll be 820 meters per second. As I said, we knew we would have a pretty hefty inclination change going to TT. So let's go ahead and get that burn completed. And that's going to get ourselves a nice solid inclination. Okay, so you can see this is prograde, this is retrograde here. We are locked to a normal burn. How much DV do we have left? 2.6 kilometers. That should be more than enough, in theory. And we're definitely going to be in a slightly elliptical orbit. We'll see what our encounter ends up looking like. Where is TT right now? It is here. Okay. Well, ideally, we would like to burn this at the periapsis here. We'll see if that's realistic. Actually, kind of is. That's very interesting. So we'd want to dial this in to be somewhere out here-ish. Okay, so that's 298 kilometers. That's pretty decent. Can we get that in any closer? I'm sure we can. I'm trying to grab this. There we go. But I want to be able to see this at the same time. Okay. So that's 299 kilometers. That's 300. Okay, this is too low sensitivity, so we'll do something like this. Okay, this is as good as we're going to get. It's fine. This is close enough. So that is absolutely okay. And auto burn aborted because node is not locked. Okay, we're auto burning this. It's happening right now. That's fine. As I said, this is close enough. So that looks good. We are in position for this burn right now, and let's just head on out to TT. There's going to be very low gravity out here, so we're going to need very, very little delta V once we get there. We do only have 1.3 kilometers per second right now. By the time we finish this burn, it'll be closer to 1 kilometer per second. Yeah, 1.1. So 286 kilometers, that is reasonably fine. Get rid of that, please. And I would like to warp us around to here. Okay, so that's going to get us into position for this encounter. So 286 kilometers. Yep, that sounds good. We're going to plan a burn at the periapsis, and we're just going to do a braking burn here. This is going to be a pretty hefty braking burn. Let's crank up that sensitivity a bit. There we go. Okay, so that's about 340 meters per second right there. Let's drop this down to somewhere around 10 kilometers in altitude. This'll do. Well, maybe give it a little more pad space than that. That'll do. Okay, so let's execute that burn. That'll be a 19-second burn. Seems good. This is now showing us 5.27. Okay, we may not want to have it actually burn that far. I'm going to cancel the auto execution, and we're going to do this manually. This changed on us, so we're just going to do it this way. Okay, so 40, 30, 20, and I want it to be about 10 kilometers. Sure, 9.64 will do. That looks good. So now we're going to come up to the... Let's see, this is going to be the periapsis, and we're going to want to circularize this down, but I want to make sure that we're safely encapsulating this. I don't know if 10 kilometers is a super safe orbit around this thing. Okay, you can also see we came in basically at the Terminator, which is not necessarily ideal, but we could change that fairly easily by doing a burn kind of like this. And then tossing in a little bit more retrograde. So it would be something kind of akin to that. And that would put us into sunlight up over here. So I'm just checking to make sure that we're relatively safely encapsulating on that, and that looks okay. So we've got 755 meters per second. Let's go ahead and execute that burn. There we go. Cool. Very minute burn to make that happen. And now we just want to execute a burn somewhere around here that's going to be a retrograde burn. And we're just going to bring this guy right on down. Cool. Something like that, 50 meters per second or so. So let's go ahead and position for that burn. And let's bring this guy right on down. So we're going to be landing somewhere over here. I'm not exactly sure where Juno is. Juno is really small in this game. Like it's a... Here it is. Juno is very, very small in this game. I think it's like a white dwarf or something. So we're going to need to be locked to velocity retrograde. There we go. And now we're going to warp forward a little bit. We're actually qualifying for detaching the impactor right here. So I guess we may as well do it. And now we just need to touch down. So let's just warp forward a bit. Excellent. Going to go back to 1x speed shortly here. Looks like it automatically brought us down. Okay, that seems fine. Interesting terrain here. I would definitely not want to land with a lander on this. Out over this way might be okay. Out over here. But on these areas, definitely not. We are going to have lander missions soon, so we're going to have to keep that in mind. We're We're moving at about 60 meters per second. And, yep, that's our booster crashing and being destroyed. That's fine. And we're going to roll down this hill for a while, most likely. Let's go at about... Yeah, let's just do that. That actually kills our linear speed. That's good to know. Or rather, our angular speed. That's good to know. And we're going to roll down this pretty heavily. Yeah. So we can kill that by going to 10x. So that works exactly like in KSP then. And we're currently about 20 meters above the surface and just slowly heading in. And once again, we pick up a bunch of angular speed from that. Now let's get rid of it. That'll cause us to come to a rest a little bit faster. So that looks good. Okay, so we're just moving up here, and we're clearing quite a lot of this ground here. Gravity here is incredibly low, so... Cool. Once again, just getting rid of that angular speed, but this thing is football-shaped, so every time we hit the ground, and by football I mean American football-shaped, every time we hit the ground, it's going to do this. Just pick up crazy amounts of angular speed. Which we can, of course, get rid of, but we just need it to come to a rest, right? And the gravity here is incredibly low, so that will be a little challenging for it to actually come to a rest. Okay, let's just warp forward a little bit here. Once again. Okay, we're going to start going downhill here. That was interesting. That was very interesting. So now we know that we definitely don't want to impact the ground at 10x speed. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not shocked about that. We clipped through the ground and then it just kind of spit it back out after a while. That was neat. But yeah, this is a very rough terrain here, and it's going to be a little bit, I think, before we manage to bring this to a halt. We have gotten rid of a lot of momentum. Unfortunately, we're going to have a lot more gravitational momentum here. You can see that one really kicked us upward, and that's because of the oblong shape of this. It's like egg-shaped, almost. So yeah, it's definitely going to take some time to settle. No doubt about that. But we can actually, this is going to be a good spot for us to be. There's a nice catching area over here where we're going to bounce and start going this way, and then it's back uphill, and we can rest in the center of this, like, almost cradle. If we're caught here, which we're not, we actually bounced this direction, so we're going to go a ways. Okay. So we're going to bounce here. And that's going to take us down a fair amount of this hill. So now we're going to be down here. There's no way we're going to come back up from this, of course. But we can warp through some of the flight portions and only come out of warp when we're about to hit the ground. So that's nice. There's only so much down that we can have here, right? But man, the gravity here is so low, like 0.32 meters per second squared. The gravity here is so low that we're having a hard time actually bringing this thing to a halt. We need to be like this. But again, there's only so much down. We're almost as down as it goes. Which basically is down here, I think, or maybe like over in here in this little pit. Our momentum is definitely way, way, way lower. No doubt about that. But we're going to clear this hill as well. And then we're going to come down over here. And this is a much, much flatter area. But yeah, the gravity being so low means that we clear these hills pretty easily. Ooh, I did it again. I just brought us through here, and we're going to get spit out of the ground again. Yeah, we do not want to be on 10x speed when we impact the ground. That is definitely the lesson learned there. that actually spit us out the opposite direction, which is interesting. Now we bounced really high up, but let's just bring this right on down. Okay, that got rid of a huge amount of our momentum there. That was a good bounce. Cool. So now there's very, very little momentum to deal with here, and we should be considered settled very shortly here. There we go. That's all good. So we got that done, and let's check in here. There is now a TT lander mission. Okay, so we have a progression mission, and that is something that we can do next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lead, Dark Horse Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.